All right, we are live
All right, we're
on
officially live. How's everyone doing out there? Well,
Indeed. How is everyone?
welcome to our Facebook Live. Welcome everybody on TikTok. My name is John Gardner. This is my wife and law partner, Radlin Mendoza, and we are the immigration law firm Gardner and Mendoza, and we come to you on Wednesdays at 8:30 to give you immigration updates, to answer questions, sometimes to talk about specific things. And tonight we are going to talk about three myths in the immigration world right now. We have a very special and distinguished guest. I'm going to let Radlin introduce her in a moment. But I also, before we do that, I do want to warn you that what we do here is not legal advice. It is for informational and educational purposes only. All right.
Yes, fantastic. So if you all have questions, go ahead and put them in the comments, start loading them up. We are going to take the questions in the order that they are received. So Odette Batchelor is a senior immigration officer. She is retired. She just retired. It was August, correct? August of 2025.
August.
So very
Yes.
recent
Yeah.
retiree. So congratulations to Odette for retiring after 42 years in at INS and USCIS legacy INS. So she's here. She's been our guest a few times. She's done webinars with us, and we're always excited when Odette comes on because she gives the point of view from the other side of the table, and she can answer your questions and give you the perspective of a retired senior immigration officer. So she's going to be talking about the three myths with us today.
Yeah, that's right. This is the person who is approving or denying your applications. So it's a very unique experience to really pick the brain of the person who is making all these decisions. So let's go.
Yeah, and I know Odette because being an immigration lawyer at our Norfolk immigration office here in Norfolk, Virginia, the Norfolk field office, and I'm going to say we became friends. I know that we probably weren't allowed to become friends for maybe with something in the policy, but we became friends and we talked about cases, not in a way that was unprofessional or, we discussed my cases and why some of the decisions were that they were. We didn't always see eye to eye, but mostly we did. And I would say we have a wonderful track record with the Norfolk Immigration Office. Would you agree, Odette? Yes.
I would agree.
Yes.
I would.
Fantastic. Okay. So we're going to jump right into myth number one. So, myth number one, I'm going to say that we are hearing this and we're seeing it, is that people believe that they can't file their immigration case right now because of the Trump administration. They hear visa pause, they hear ban, and they think that it applies to all types of cases. And that's just simply not true. Odette, is USCIS open right now for receiving applications such as I-130 petitions, adjustment of status, N-400 applications, or are we buying into this myth that immigration is closed?
It is definitely open. I actually went into the office today to visit people.
You did. All
I
right.
did, and say goodbye to a few people that were retiring. But yes, it is open. They are doing interviews. Applications are being processed. So don't think they're not, but they're definitely open.
Right. And I think that this also may be stemming from the fear of our second myth, which is the requirements have changed, right? That it's going to be different to get an I-130 petition approved, and it's going to require different evidence to get an I-130 approved, and you're going to need more evidence to get an I-130 petition approved than you had before. And that's myth number two, is that, hey, you know what? I'm going to wait to file because I know that this administration has changed all the requirements, has made everything harder, more expensive. It sounds like we're going to have to pay $100,000 for, the Iowa. All the things that are happening are getting jumbled together in people's minds. And so, Odette, as far as and you tell us a little bit about your experience at USCIS, and just you've been through many administrations, correct?
Correct. Many administrations. In the
Okay.
42 years I've worked there, it's a lot.
Okay. Who was the first president? If you can remember.
George Washington.
George Washington. that is a
You asked.
Odette is in
That's
testing
funny.
mode right now for the
I want to
M400.
say it might have been Reagan at the time. I'm not sure. Or yeah, it might have been. I can't remember. It's been so long ago.
Yeah.
I've been through both Bush.
Yeah, that's right, Odette. I just did the
Clinton.
math here. That would have been 1980. That you're right. So your first
Yeah.
president was Ronald Reagan. That's correct. Okay.
So
Sorry to
so
interrupt.
going through all these different administrations and the different presidencies, was there ever a time where USCIS, under any of the administrations, including this one right now, because you worked under the Trump administration before you retired, that USCIS was not taking applications, like 9/11, for example?
It never stopped processing.
Never stopped
Applications.
processing.
Never.
Okay. Right. Okay. And
even through government shutdowns, the applications were still being processed.
And why is that? Through government shutdowns.
Because there's still people that are working, they're just not getting paid.
Right.
So there's people working. I worked in the office. We worked to midnight taking in the life legalization cases. So yeah, there's always someone there working. Just because it's a government shutdown doesn't mean that immigration is closed. They are open and they are working.
Right. And that's another thing. I think that people are like, okay, the government shut down, so USCIS isn't taking cases, but you're funded by fees.
Correct.
Right? You're funded by all the thousands of dollars of fees that applicants pay. And so you're still there. The lights are still on. Their lights are still on at USCIS. Maybe not at TSA, but they are on at USCIS. And so that's going to be a big thing for all of you who are waiting to file, who are waiting until this administration leaves. I mean, what do you have to say about that, John, as far as people out there who are thinking, I'm going to just wait until Trump is out of office, and then I'm going to do all my immigration stuff and legalize the rest of my family and bring my mom here from the Philippines or wherever. I'm just not going to do it right now because it's harder.
Well, I mean, a couple of things. First of all, if that's your strategy, it's going to be a pretty long wait. I want to remind everyone it's only April, so we're only 3 months into the second year, and presidents served for 4 years. So if that's your strategy, you've got some waiting to do. Secondly, I don't think it's a good idea anyway, because with anything in life, when you know what the rules are at the moment and you know that you're eligible and that you can succeed under the rules as they are at the moment, you should strike while the iron is hot and do it while you still can, because we don't know. I mean, we've seen some changes. It's not unlikely that there will be more changes. It's quite possible that we're going to continue to see changes. And if your strategy is to wait, you might just be putting yourself in a worse position the longer you wait and these changes come down the road, and you might even be knocked completely out of the box. How are you going to feel knowing that you're eligible right now, but you're worried about the Trump administration, only to find out 4 years from now that you're not eligible at all anymore because of some change in the law? If history is any indication, we will likely have a president at the end of this term who is not a Republican president and might shift gears completely. But again, who knows? We don't even know that. So my advice to people is, right now, if you're eligible, this is a great time for you to apply. Let us vet your case. Let us hear your facts. Let us let you know if you're eligible. And if we give you a green light, we say, hey, you are good to go, then I highly recommend filing right now when you know what the law is and you qualify under this current law.
Absolutely. You know what you know, and you know that it's still open. And let's talk a little bit about the requirements, right? So we know, let's go simple. We know the requirements for an I-130 petition, right? If you're petitioning for a family member, you have to be a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident. Um, you have to prove that, right? You have to submit your green card, or you have to submit a copy of your birth certificate if you're born in the United States, if you're a US citizen. And say you're petitioning for your spouse. So you then have to prove that you are married. And so that's a marriage certificate. So you got a marriage certificate. If you've been married previously, you have to show that the previous marriages were terminated. So you have to include your divorce decree. And again, it's a marriage case. Then you have to submit documents to show that that you have a bona fide marriage, right? You have to show that it's an actual real marriage. So those are the requirements to filing an I-130 petition successfully, right? There are other things, right? You have to put 2 passport photos in, and you have to, of each of you, and then you have to submit the I-130A as well in addition to the I-130. But to your knowledge, Odette, have those requirements changed under the Trump administration?
No,
Okay,
everything is the same.
everything's the same, exactly. So it's not harder requirements to meet. They're exactly the same. And so we're here to, so we just don't want you to get confused with all of the news that's coming at you. And I mentioned $100,000. Yes, there's $100,000 additional fee for those those who are applying for H-1B who are outside of the United States and not in F1 and OPT. So yeah, that's a big fee, but it does not apply to your case, right? Here we're talking about family-based cases and naturalization. So the third myth that we want to discuss, and do we have any questions?
Yeah, we've got lots of questions.
Okay. Well, let's take a second here and see if there are any questions that are relevant to our conversation today. Let's grab a couple of them.
Well, the first question that came up, not so relevant, but we can still handle it. What if I worked with a fake Social Security number? It's not stolen, but it is fake. Am I doomed is the question. So you've got somebody who's working with a fake Social Security number.
So is it worked past tense?
Work
Present currently.
Tense. Currently working.
Okay, so we have a situation where we have a situation where you have a Social Security number. It is not a fake number, meaning you didn't just make it up. Maybe you're using your cousin's Social Security number to work. Let's think about that in the context of a green card application, and let's just, for just ease, let's just pretend this is a marriage case. Okay, so person is otherwise eligible. Let's just assume that this person did enter with inspection, so we don't have to deal with any of that. Mm-hmm. And they have worked previously, so of course we're going to put, guys, we're putting your unauthorized work on your application. Don't try to tell your lawyer that, no, I don't want to put this job on my application. There's a question on there where you've worked for the past 5 years. We're putting it down. And if we don't put it down, then we are not being truthful on the application. No lawyer should be signing off on that, that application. So anyway, we're putting the work authorization, we're putting the work on there, which you were not authorized to work. But where does this come into play, Odette? I mean, you've seen thousands of family-based cases. I know this is not the first time you've heard about somebody with Social Security number that was not theirs. And how does this play into, say, an adjustment of status?
It can play out in a couple of different ways, but first, if they have to admit it, right? So say they worked. The officer may ask, well, how did you work? Well, did you work under the table? What documents did you have to show to work? Most places are asking for I-9s. So then when you tell them, if we haven't already found out that you used a fake Social Security, well, you use someone else's Social Security number. Right. We're not going to say it's fake, it's real, right? So that person's getting all those hours in for their Social Security benefits at the end, not you. But what comes into play, we'll ask more questions about your integrity, like, did you lie on anything else, any other applications, your passport coming into this country, your visa coming into the country? that can bring up a lot of other issues that they would look into.
Right. And his question is, am I cooked? Let's
Doomed.
say, am
No,
I doomed? Let's just say this is the only thing. This guy has a super clean record on the fact that he felt like he needed to use the social security number that belonged to someone else in order to, support himself. Are we doomed?
no, you're
No.
not
Okay.
doomed.
There you go. You could be doomed, but generally you probably aren't. And like Odette said, it's going to go into other questions. What did you complete on your I-9 verification? That now you could be doomed if you checked I'm a US citizen box. You could
Right.
definitely be doomed, dead in the water. Guys, do not fill out any application in order to get any type of benefit like work authorization and claim that you are a US citizen.
Don't do it.
Many times it's you're dead in the water.
A false claim to citizenship really is a problem. And even if you were eligible to work, say you had work authorization but you weren't a citizen and you claim to be a citizen, you cannot make the argument that, oh, well, I was just doing it because I thought it looked better. I had work authorization anyway, and so it shouldn't count against me. There's actually case law out of the Fourth Circuit that says that is a problem, a big problem.
Yep. But that's a really good question because it's common.
It
is common for people who have a social security number that's may not be theirs, or maybe they just put a bunch of numbers together.
Yeah, and I wouldn't go into the office without an attorney on that one.
Yeah, for sure.
No.
For sure.
Patron, you better be calling us, okay?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and we, if somebody who calls us, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get way into that. We're gonna ask whether you claim to be a U.S. citizen. If you said that you did, and it's outside of the time frame where it said U.S. citizen or national, there's like that little loophole. We're most likely not going to be filing your adjustment of status case. So find out. You may or you may not be doomed.
Yeah.
Great
Just
question.
a side note real quick before we move on from
Yep.
that. That's the immigration problem. Just a warning to everybody, using false identification is also a misdemeanor under state criminal law.
Yes.
In Virginia, at least. And
That
I'm
is-
sure every other state has a similar statute.
That is different than presenting a social security number that's not real. And like you have the card in your wallet. That's not good. Like because you could get pulled over or whatever, and it is not good to have your not fake, not card, not belonging to you in your wallet, and
Right.
just don't do it. All right, let's do another question. That was a good one.
Okay, Lieb wants to know, I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm living in my wife's country. Can she get a visitor visa?
Yeah, possibly. The U.S. citizen living in another country, not living in the United States. Maybe your wife wants to come visit the United States with you when you come here. She could possibly get a visitor's visa. One of the things that you have to keep in mind is the immigrant intent, right? When you're applying for a visitor's visa. So one thing for your wife, they might say she's going to fill out the DS 160, and she's going to list family members who are U.S. citizens, right, in the United States. You're not in the United States. You're not living in the United States. So she would have to list you, but not as a person who's living in the United States. And so when she goes to her interview, she's going to be able to establish that, oh, my U.S. citizen spouse has been living here in my country with me. We're just going to visit. Like, he's been here for 10 years. We have no desire to move to the United States right now. Here it's really bad for immigrants. So we're just going to visit. And so
See what you did there.
yeah. Well, I mean, I had someone coming in on a non-immigrant visa, and he's like, tell me the truth. What's going to happen to me? I mean, is it so bad? Am I going to get shot and killed? He was serious,
Wow.
And this is a person from Europe. I mean, he was. So anyway, my point is that you can tell the consular officer and make sure that you bring proof that you're not coming to the United States to permanently live with your US citizen husband. Because if they thought that you guys were making a permanent move to the United States, they may not issue that tourist visa, because then you could go and apply for adjustment of status, and it is impermissible to come into the United States on a non-immigrant visa, such as a tourist visa. There are exceptions, for dual intent visas, but impermissible to come in with the intent to file for adjustment of status. So you have to come in to visit. I mean, if there are changed circumstances, say you come into the United States, you absolutely love your mother-in-law, and she says, I really want my, son or daughter to stay here and take care of me. I'm getting older. That's a changed circumstance. And so you may be fine applying for adjustment of status. But going back to the initial question, yes, your wife, your spouse should go ahead and try to apply for a tourist visa, keeping these things in mind. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is they say no and you lose your money. Okay. That's not the worst thing that can happen. Actually, the worst thing that can happen is somehow she makes a misrepresentation during the interview. I don't know why she would, but you never know. A lot of people do. And then she's not able to get the visa ever. So, I mean, there's a waiver for that because she's married to you, a U.S. citizen. If you guys ever decided to immigrate permanently to the United States, okay, kind of got into the weeds there with that one.
All right.
Yeah.
Should we finish out the myths? So
I was exercising my voice.
So we know that immigration is still open. We know that for cases like adjustment of status, marriage adjustment cases, and naturalization, that the core requirements, the basic requirements, the forms that haven't changed. And so it's, this is business as usual, so to speak, in many respects. What other myth? What's the third myth?
The third myth I'm gonna say, and then I'm gonna just do like a little subset. So the third myth is that, well, it's just filling out forms. Looks pretty easy. I'm gonna just put my name here and my address, and okay, it says that I have I ever been charged with a crime or anything like that? I mean, I did, but it was misidentity. So I'm not going to put that on there because I really don't think that applies. I'm not going to say that I misrepresented at any time in the past. I mean, I did once, but I'm not putting that on there because, I mean, after all, they're never going to find out. So
that was years ago.
That was years ago. It's not relevant. And so the forms, yes, they look pretty simple and pretty straightforward, but man, there are some pitfalls on the applications, right? And there are some pitfalls on the applications, and don't get it twisted that these are simple forms to complete. They are, if you just look at them at face value, but when you are looking at the whole case and what you're applying for and your history and all the things that that go into that, then it is and can be quite complicated. So, Odette, I'm sure that you've seen, as we mentioned, thousands of cases, and they were all really straightforward, right? Everybody was just like name, address, phone number, and you're like, approved. Yay, good job.
Yeah, no. Yeah, when we say that application asks, have you ever committed any crimes? We don't just mean since you've been in the US, we mean ever in any other country. It will pop up. Don't leave it off. Don't think we won't know. They know. Everything is going to be in your file. They run all kind of background checks. So don't leave that. You ever served a military service in any other country? Don't say no, because it will pop up. We do know. Those are the two main ones people always put no on, and it's always a yes. If we see it and you put no, that may be an issue for you.
Right.
Don't say, oh, I forgot. Now you 80 years old coming in there and you say you forgot. Okay, we might give it to you. But don't come in there 25, 30 years old saying, oh, I didn't think that counted. Oh, I forgot about that. No.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And the questions are, we're in a military town here, and if you're in the military, you're applying for citizenship, or you have fired a firearm. Are you got to answer those questions? Yes,
Yes.
on the application.
And you know how many military people put no?
They just
Did
go
you ever
no,
have
no, no,
military training? No, 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 no.
no military training.
How'd you get this far? So
Right.
yes.
Right. And that's just, it's really curious to me. So when we're doing military cases, or just people who have served, they're checking that box no. And you need to ask the question behind the question. Well, wait a minute, you put here, or you mentioned in our initial consultation that you served in the military. You filled out our questionnaire. Why did you say no about military service or handling any type of firearms or anything like that? That could, for naturalization, a mistake like that can actually lead to the denial of it, and then you're not going to be able to file for 5 years. If you're an active duty military, you wouldn't be able to file for a year after that denial. So you have to be careful with these questions that are seemingly really easy, but really pack a punch when you think about it. And crimes and charges and arrests and citations, and that's what can really complicate things, and cause an issue. So
Yeah, a lot of people are not aware. I've talked about it a lot. I won't get into it again tonight, but one of the things that Radlin and I do is we speak at state bar functions here in Virginia, where we are located, trying to help train criminal defense lawyers to be aware of these immigration consequences that can flow from the criminal convictions. And as part of that, hopefully enlighten the clients as well, that many things that you think are not convictions or don't count, they are convictions and they do count. And so you really, really need to be careful there.
yep, absolutely. All right, let's grab a couple of questions. We don't have any questions
Yeah.
on YouTube or Facebook right now.
Okay, we have a question here. Does premium processing increase the chances of an RFE for I-140 for NIW?
That's a really good question. Unofficially, yes. I think that premium processing, the government has to get an answer to us in 15 days. You're paying a lot of money, right? And they don't want to refund that money back. So what are they doing? They're sending a kitchen sink RFE. No matter how well you prepare your case, I think it's a strategy for them to be able to just answer and not have to refund the money. And I think so, and I think that immigration attorneys across the board, especially with really complex cases like a national interest waiver or a person of extraordinary ability, with a you know a premium processing, if we can do it, we just don't request it. If we can get away with not having to request premium processing, we wouldn't do it. But look, we have to look at things on a case by case basis, right? I mean, let's say we have to look at it. We'd have to take a look and see, all right, this could be a really great candidate for premium processing because of the work that the applicant does. So, but yeah, unofficially, anecdotally, yes, we believe that filing filing a case that's very complex and requesting premium processing is going to result in an RFE. So, did you ever work in premium processing unit?
No.
Okay,
No.
all right.
That's good, because there would have
Yeah.
been this could have been
Stop.
This could have been a fight brewing right here on Facebook Live. Okay, Tumbleweeds are real. Excuse me. Says they are working. If I think they meant like if they're working, then why don't they send me my biometrics notice? Tumbleweeds are real. As a
Yeah, Odette, can you answer the question? Because why don't you send the biometrics notice. Come on, let's go. What's happening here?
I know they are backlogged on sending out these notices that used to be really quick.
Yeah.
I'm gonna assume they filed a 765 and that's what they're waiting on to get the work card or
Right.
their travel document. They used to get send them out in 45 days. When I was still working there, they were backed up for at least 60 days, if not more 90.
Okay. So what we're hearing then is that processing times have changed.
Right.
And processing times are always changing. It
hmm
depends on workflow. It probably well, Odette, you can kind of why would processing times change like that? I mean, what causes things to kind of fluctuate in time?
First thing would be the amount of applications coming in. So that's going to make it harder. It's going to make it longer. When they did the early buyout for immigration officers or people who worked at immigration, they
Yep.
offered these early incentives to leave. You had hundreds and hundreds of people that left between May and September 30th of last year. Everything backed up from that point forward. And they still haven't finished filling those positions. So that's why a lot of these notices are taking so long to be sent out. Applications are still being held up because they don't have the people to work on them, especially the ones who had more knowledge. So you're getting a brand new people come in, all still have to go to training. So they could send a service inquiry to check on their notice. That would help. It might just push it to get the notice sent out.
Okay. So a service request.
hmm
So
Send a service request.
hang in there, tumbleweeds are real.
Yeah, this is a really great answer as to why there are certain backlogs and why maybe your friend who filed it 3 years ago. Oh gosh, I got my biometrics notice within 30 days of filing my
Mhm.
case. Oh,
Yeah.
something must be wrong with your case. Doesn't necessarily mean anything's wrong with your case. It's just the timing changes
Right.
based on.
Okay, we are out of time. Do you want to grab one more question?
I say we grab one more question, guys. Just a reintroduction. My name is Radlin Mendoza. This is my law partner and husband, John Gardner. We started our immigration law firm, Gardner Mendoza, 25 years ago, actually 26 if you're.
Yep.
And tonight we have our friend, colleague, and former senior immigration officer, Odette Batchelor, with us. And as an immigration attorney, I worked with Odette. She was the senior immigration officer, always approving my cases because they were great cases.
Yeah.
And she joins us every time she joins us is very special just because we get to have her insight. And I mean, even something that she said today about the buyouts, I didn't
Yeah.
even think about the buyouts and the
That's
hundreds
right.
of officers who left the service, all that knowledge and all that talent left, who's replacing them to do the work, right? So that never dawned on me that, yeah, I mean, that of course that's going to be an issue. But yeah, let's grab this last one
Another great
because we
insight.
never hear this question ever.
Okay, yeah, we've
We've never
ever.
gotten this question.
So Vladimir wants to know: is it safe to travel internationally with a green card, no criminal history, um, from the partial ban?
Yeah, from the partial ban country. So if you're otherwise good to travel, you don't have a criminal history, there's no fraud issues, you don't have any drug things, you're fine. Yes, you should be fine to come back into the United States as a permanent resident, even though you're from a country with the ban, because that does not apply to you.
Yeah, you should be good. I mean, obviously, depending on where you are going, the world is a little unstable right now. You may want to
Mhm.
check with the Department of the State Department to see what their warning levels are for various places.
Right. Absolutely. And speaking of which, I'm just going to throw a PSA out there because I was interviewed by media today. The UK now requires
Yeah.
US citizens as of February 20 2025, 2026 to apply for the electronic travel authorization. It's the ETA. And so if you're visiting the UK, this is new to US citizens. You need to get this done before you travel. They recommend 3 days in advance. As with all immigration things, don't use a scam website. Use their official UK website. I believe it's UK.gov or Gov UK. But you need to do that before you travel, because some people have run into issues where they're going on their trips. They don't have this. They're getting turned around. Their trips are getting completely canceled or delayed. So just make sure you do that before you go. All right.
All right, everyone. We've had a great time. Thank you, Odette, so much for joining us.
You're
This
welcome.
is fun. Before we got here, we saw something super cool. I don't know if anyone else saw it, but we saw Artemis take off from the Kennedy Space Center. We watched it live on its way to go orbit the moon a few times. First time that's happened in many, many, many years. So
yeah, it was very cool.
It was really, really cool. If any of you are into space stuff, you check it out.
Yep.
I'm sure it's going to be sending back some amazing, amazing footage. But back to immigration. Sorry.
But no. It's good. This is the immigration variety show.
That's right.
And then for those of you who are keeping track of things that are going on in immigration, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments today regarding birthright citizenship and whether that was going to be limited, and whether those who are in the United States, who are undocumented, who have overstayed their visas, which is still being undocumented, whether the children of those parents are going to born here in the United States are going to be U.S. citizens. So we listened to oral arguments today.
We listened to the oral arguments today. I mean, we obviously weren't there. We were listening online, but we did listen to them. A lot of pushback from the court. A lot of pushback.
What's your prediction? John has a prediction.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 7-2 or maybe unanimous. I think they're going to rule against the administration's order.
I understand the president was sitting in there.
First time a sitting president
time ever, right?
has attended a Supreme Court oral argument, which, I told Radlin, I never really thought about it. I was actually kind of surprised by that. I never even thought about it. But when they said it was the first time, I thought, well, I would have assumed that would have happened in the past at some point, but I guess not. So
I wonder if he was just like glaring at him.
Oh, I'm sure.
Do you think his eyebrow was up?
I'm sure. But for anyone who, you never know. It's hard to predict sometimes what the court's going to do based on the oral arguments. But I don't know. This was a lot of pushback. So I think we know it's going to be coming down sometime end of June, early July when they release their opinion.
And if that would be the case, then as our former torts professor used to say, Professor Gilhooly, that would be the right result.
Right result. Okay, everyone.
All right. We'll see you next week. Bring your questions. Odette, thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
And if you all need a consultation, our information is in the bio on TikTok, as well as you can send us a message through Messenger or call us 757-464-9224. All right. You guys have a great evening.
Everyone. Take care now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, we forgot.